approval in the minutes that we did, when we did this in, I think, 2002, I believe, when we started the conceptual plan process back in 2002. So it's a process that we go through. But yeah, that's all on the record there.
So it's whoever looks at it, they decide that it meets the general, what they think is the vision of Parkside, and it gets approved. And
if the building permit we get issued, if the design is compliant and all the codes are met for the traditional neighborhood development design that we issue for Parkside, yeah. And there's nothing around size. Let's be very clear about that. There's nothing around size. Yes.
Well, speaking of that, is there any minimum number of square footage it would be? Could it be a 2-bedroom, 900 square foot home, as long as it meets the architectural intent of the PND?
No. No minimum lot or minimum house size, no. No. And honestly, that's all been there. That was the whole design of this. And now, I told you, you're not going to like some of the answers you're going to get, but that's it. And that was all here. And I know, listen, I've been through this from Greenlawn, the very first development in Middletown. And people said, well, how am I supposed to know that's what's there? All we have to do is ask. And I know everybody's excited. You come in, you see this, you think that's what it's going to be. But if anybody would have asked for the design and what's going to be there, that's what they would have seen. And we have all that stuff. I know you don't do that. I didn't do that in my house. It's just, it's a shame, but that's,
like I said, a lot of those things aren't required to be submitted at the time that we bought. Like these new models are being submitted and approved well after. So whether I ask for them,
there's no models that are submitted and approved. It's the design of the neighborhood, the traditional neighborhood development design, and what it's going to look like.
Well, you brought up the pool earlier. How did the pool get from looking what was that artist conception to what we have out here, a square, the rectangle?
That's an artist rendering. The pool, there's no requirements. That's all it is. That's a picture. There's no requirement around the pool. I was asked the question, why isn't the pool shaped like a circle at one end? That was on a landscape plan. And you were at that meeting. That question that came around, this is on this. Asked the question, why isn't the pool shaped like this? Well, the reason being, because this is a landscape plan. That's just a center, that's just a drawing. This is the way the land has to be graded to get water runoff. It says right there, lines and grades, community center, to be used only for lines and grades. That's it. That's all it is. It has nothing to do with what's there.
Mr. Mayor, don't you see how a non-engineer might look at that?
No, not what it says. It says lines and grades again. It says right on here. To be used for that only.
Wait a minute.
Now, there's no reason.
All right, let's not pull out. Yes, sir.
Go ahead.
And I have friends who were with me when I was here.
Okay.
I was told specifically what houses would go on every one of those lots. This group of houses here, this group of houses here, this group, for every one of these lots around here.
Did anybody from Mayor Council tell you that? center, when we do the parquet, it's all built on build-out by phases. And that's why there was no design for the pool from the beginning, because they didn't know when the build-out would be. We don't require design of the pool. If you ask a question, they probably didn't